This mutation is called Breath of Destruction, and boy will there be a lot of destruction here. We have 3 mutators active. We have Aggressive Deployment, Avenger, and Speed Freaks. So yeah, not very pleasant set of mutators here. The Aggressive Deployment drops also give out Avenger stacks, so that is something else to pay attention to. So and you have everything moving really fast. I don't know whether you have seen an Avenger unit with Speed Freaks. It is very scary. It's a huge unit that is like half the size of the screen running towards you. Not very pleasant to deal with. So we have a Dehaka and Artanis over here that will be attempting to do this mutation. Dehaka is on this side now, and he is going to farm some essence. Again, really good play here. It's nice to see Dehaka players that are not slapping some rocks and actually going ahead and you know, gathering some essence over here. Unfortunately, Avenger units do not give out more essence, so it just makes the mission a little bit more difficult for Dehaka to farm, but Dehaka has cleaned up that side with relatively little amount of damage. So Dehaka is going to take out that Hydralisk. I don't know whether he intended to lure that Hydralisk away, but that's generally how you need to deal with Avenger units to make sure that they do not actually give out Avenger stacks to the other stuff that's beside them. So over here, Artanis is taking out his expansion, and he wants to clear those rocks with his couple of zealots. This is, I believe, the correct expand here for Artanis. He sent the probe over now. The last zealot comes out. That should be enough to clear out his expansion. Dehaka is on this side, and is basically taking his double extractors. Dehaka will be moving over here now. Jumps into the middle of the fray there. Eats the Hydralisk. The brooch instantly flies back to kite Dehaka as per the EI's instructions, and we have a couple of roaches are left over. They get cleaned up. Now there is an attack wave over here. Dehaka just missed that roach, picks it up off here again, and Dehaka decides to intercept these guys at the pass, and this is a ground Zerg composition, which is actually relatively okay for Artanis. I think this might be really good for Artanis, to be honest. A ground Zerg composition means Artanis can probably go for a Mass Phoenix build with a few Dragoons and he'll be fine. And the reason why I like the Mass Phoenix build is not because it's very effective, but it is a lot of fun to play. Just being able to lift up an entire attack wave and they cannot really hit you back is kind of fun. And Dehaka goes to slap his rocks now. Okay. So Dehaka is making a... He's gonna have a total of 3 Primal Wardens. He has not put down his Glevik's Den. Okay, so he has actually cancelled his idea of trying to clear these rocks. So there is some redemption here. We have 5 Zealots for Artanis. I don't think the Zealots are going to do very well against the ground Zerg attack waves here, but the Dehaka should be more than enough to be able to deal with it. Aggressive Deployment drops into the middle of this base over here, but I'm not really sure why, to be honest. The Aggressive Deployment drop should have dropped on the top of the enemy units here, but there is some harass here from 3 roaches, and we have another 3 roaches on this side. So Orbital Strike comes down to take out these roaches here, but we do have a bunch of Zealots now that have been re-rallied back to try and clear this attack wave. As you can see, the Avenger stacks are being given out to these roaches, so they will get a little bit harder as time goes on. Because the aggressive deployment drops do actually get stronger as the mission progresses. So initially it starts off with 1-1 attack waves, and then it starts to get more and more nasty. But Dehaka is also over here now, and he's able to clear this attack wave, this harass wave here for the bot. And I think all should be good. He's going to get a couple of Ravasors now, which is, I guess, okay. He should probably send the Zerglings to clear his rocks. He hasn't cleared his rocks yet, which is stifling his economy a little bit. So Artanis is going to go for the Immortal Zealot build, which is also fine. Immortals deal a good amount of damage against the ground Zerg composition. The only reason why, again, I don't really like the Immortals that much is because they tend to get focus fired down by the enemy units. So it does make it a little bit more painful for Artanis to maneuver through. But we have a bunch of Ravasors over here trying to clear this expansion. Artanis rallies his army here to also help his ally clear, and there we go. Dehaka leading the pack by slapping those rocks. We have 2 aggressive deployment drops here because both the armies are... Oh, there's another 2 there. And that will essentially be cleared up by the army. The army is strong enough to be able to deal with these waves. As long as this immortal does not move out in front accidentally. They kind of forgot about those rocks there. There we go. As long as the immortal does not move out in front of the army, Artanis's army should be more or less okay and should be able to put out enough damage. One of the main risks, though, is that the AI will try and focus fire down these immortals. So it does cause it can cause a lot of problems for Dehaka or for Artanis. So they have split up their armies over here. We have an army of Ravasors with Dehaka on this side, and we have Artanis' army here. I don't think they need detection just yet, but at some point Artanis will probably want to put down the Robo and start getting some detection out, because they will have lurkers into the mix. We have a bunch of roaches and lynx on here. Dehaka jumps into the fray, eats up some of the units over there, and I think he's doing okay. These Ravasors are dealing a reasonable amount of damage to these roaches. Next attack wave spawns over here, and these guys are already in position. Zealots out in the front, which is really good, but notice how this immortal was starting to get focus fired down by some of the roaches. So that's where just microing the immortals back a little bit can help. We have an aggressive deployment drop that has spawned on top of these units, and they get flanked by another aggressive deployment drop and the attack wave. So they are actually surrounded here, which is kind of bad. But a Guardian Shield comes down to keep the army safe, which is really good timing here for Artanis. And Dehaka is on this side that is able to deal with it. And there is one roach over here that is harassing this side, but they do not have time to deal with that one roach because there is another attack wave here. And remember, these attack waves have speed freaks, so if you are not paying attention, you can get blindsided by this and end up losing this harvesting bot. And it kind of feels really bad to lose one of the earlier bots in the mission, because these are the easier ones to defend. If you want to lose a bot, you probably want to lose one towards the later stages of the mission. But Dehaka deep tunnels over and just eats up that roach. And next attack wave now is making a beeline for Artanis' expansion. He does see it, puts down one immortal, but it's not going to be enough. We have a solar bombardment that comes down here and wipes out this attack wave, but we also have a Glaive that's come down for Dehaka. So I would say that's a good use of the solar bombardment, but I won't see Glaive move. Yeah, there we go. So that is actually a really good play from Dehaka. He realizes that his Glaive is going to be out here and like really doing nothing, so he does decide to try and clear some of this. You can see here the Avenger stacks do get given out to a lot of these units over here. Hopefully he can get one more Scorched Breath out before Glaive goes down. I'm not really sure if he may have the chance to do so. He has cleared out. I think there's still some swarm hosts on this side that they've, I think, forgotten to clear. So yeah, these locusts are probably not going to take the Glavik down, but there are a bunch of swarm hosts on this side. Aggressive deployment drop falls on here and ends up killing Dehaka. No, Dehaka's on this side because he went to help his ally, but unfortunately he does leave his army behind, and they tend to get kind of I know that was not his army, that was Artanis' army here. Okay, sorry about that.
Our allies are in combat.
Overall, this area has been cleared though, so more or less okay. I still think those swarm hosts are there. I was not really paying attention, but I am about 99% sure these swarm hosts were not cleared up in that time. I think Glavik just despawned. So Artanis will probably want to get some detection, or Dehaka may want to just pop over there and just slap those swarm hosts around a little bit until they die. There we go. So those swarm hosts are there. Now he jumps over, kills that swarm host, and now there's that other swarm host that also needs to be cleaned up. But now there's an attack wave that is making a beeline for the bots here, and again, intercepting the attack wave is going to be a little bit difficult. But Dehaka's army is in position, and he drops a Murvar on this side, so you can kind of see these Hydralisks spazzing out there. Dehaka jumps over the cliff over there and just instantly kills the Hydralisk on that side. There's another attack wave now that's moving in here. Murvar is in position though, and takes out that attack wave. A few Hydralisks on this side, but see how fast these Hydralisks move. Okay, next attack wave here. Dehaka is starting to push into this side, but there's an attack wave here that again, you have to be really careful because Groundzerg actually does a lot of damage. And an aggressive deployment drop now time, and it again is surrounding this army over here. The Reaver gets microed back a little bit, and actually gets saved by Artanis' Guardian Shell. And there are a few Zealots here that get warped in to clean up some of the stragglers over there. This attack wave has been cleared, but there is a Hydralisk here that does not seem to be interested in attacking this bot, which is kind of funny. There we go. Now they started attacking the bot here, but the armies are in position. But unfortunately, this bot is left all by itself. So this might cause a little bit of a problem for Dehaka, but he deep tunnels across and starts to tank this damage while the rest of his army get into position, so that is okay. Next attack wave is coming up over here, and there is no one here to try and deal with this. And again, they're not really attacking this side, but a warp in here by Artanis. Artanis notices it and ends up killing some of the Hydralisks, and these tuna fish hybrids are just absolutely massive right now. But as long as there are player units near this harvesting bot, the enemy units will not focus down this harvester, so that'll be okay. Unfortunately, no anti-air for either of the players until Dehaka comes over here to deal with it. We have a few Dragoons warped in, but we need a lot more of those to be able to deal with the hybrids. Especially when they have the Avenger stacks. Avenger stacked hybrids like have a lot of HP. All quiet now on the western front. We now have an attack wave and an aggressive deployment drop. So aggressive deployment will be cleared out first. Somewhat fortunate timing over here because having double drops would be a little bit difficult. But there was another aggressive deployment drop on this side that was aggroing some of Dehaka's units. So a solar bombardment has to come down to try and save this. I would have personally moved my army across there and used the solar bombardment on this side, because as you can see, these hybrids are massive. And they do a lot of damage. This hybrid dominator has 2000 HP. This tuna fish hybrid has 1020 HP with 500 shields. So it has a lot of HP here, and it's going to take them a while for these commanders to clear it. So we can see Artanis telling his ally, move your production up. And basically what he's telling his ally is take these production structures and move them a little bit forward out of the base over here, because the aggressive deployment drops will target any random army unit for the commanders. So you basically don't want to have your army units sitting in your base. You kind of want to have them rallied either to your army already, or you want to have your production out of there and then just parked outside, and you can kind of deal with it a little bit later. So that is actually one thing that you can do to make aggressive deployment a little bit less painful. It still does not guarantee the fact that you're not going to get attacked on that side. It just means that your workers will not get harassed and your base is a little bit more safe. Dehaka jumps into this side now. Aggressive deployment drops have spawned on here. It has spawned on both the armies, and you can see this Ultralisk is just absolutely massive, 1000 HP Ultralisk. But that gets completely shredded by the strength of the attack, strength of the armies over here. We have Immortals, Dragoons, and a Reaver here that has joined in on the fun with a ton of Zealots. And we have another wave of harvesting bots on this side, and Dehaka is just pushing in here to clear with Dakran. I'm not sure why Artanis is... I don't know why his army is accompanying that harvesting bot here. He should be helping out his ally, because this last area has still not been cleared out by Dehaka. So we have an attack wave that is spawning now, and Dehaka will clean up this, I think, this last Broodlord over here. But Artanis' army is escorting these set of harvesting bots here, and they will have no problem to deal with it. But Dehaka deep tunnels across, jumps into the fray, as well as a bunch of orbital strikes that come down from Artanis, and instantly wipes out that attack wave. But that is only one of many waves on this set of harvesting bots, and both the commanders have to push through and clear this, otherwise the bots will take way too much damage. There is another attack wave that comes up over here, which Artanis is choosing to engage. A bit of Dehaka's army as well moves on that side, but he should be focusing down on this this area here. Infest drops the fungal growth, takes out this side of the Zerglings, and there are a few Roaches left alive, but again, that Broodlord is massive and needs to go down. Most importantly is that harvesting bot needs to be kept alive. There is another drop over here, and now there's an attack wave over here that is harassing this this harvesting bot, but there is an army here to deal with that. We have two waves over here. There's one over here, one on this side, kind of split up. Glevik comes down here to try and take this out. This army should be more than enough to clear that side. This side as well, there's a bunch of Immortals here, and that ends up being cleared too. There is a Lurker here, but that Lurker will go down relatively quickly. And there is something over here that it seems to be cloaked, and now there is another wave of attacks, harass wave here. But again, one Scorched Breath from Glevik instantly wipes that attack wave out. I believe there is one Lurker there, so that Lurker now has been cleaned up. And yeah, that was relatively hectic. But I think that is the hardest part of this this phase of the mission done. There is another harass wave now that's come up here, and it is making a beeline to some of the other harvesting bots here. I think what is happening also is Speed Freaks combined with Avenger is messing with the AI. The AI is moving way too fast. Again, another solar bombardment here on this one Ravager here. I think that was a bit of a panic move from Artanis. There is a big attack wave here that the solar bombardment would have been very, very valuable to use on. Dehaka uses his fire breath to weaken this attack wave, but he ends up killing off the infestor, which is also somewhat unfortunate. I think I tend to jump in and use the eat the Psionic Unit first before I use the Squirt Breath. A double aggressive deployment drops, again one for each player. All spawns on top of the army, and that infestor is making a beeline for Artanis' base, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I think the Speed Freaks is making the AI mess up a little bit. The AI is not playing as aggressively as it normally would because it's just moving so fast and not really expecting to do stuff. I don't know why these probes have moved. I'm not sure why those probes were pulled. Okay, so we have Artanis here, who's flowing a lot of minerals. So what he's doing now is he wants to put down a bunch of photon cannons to stall the attack waves. Again, this is a really good play. If you are floating minerals, if you are floating resources, and you find that you're up against, especially in mutations where it's a little bit more difficult to hold, putting down some static defense just to even stall the attack waves might be very, very useful if you're not really sure if you are able to deal with the last attack wave. So having Artanis just do this, putting down these extra photon cannons here, they're not going to hold the attack waves indefinitely. That's not what their purpose is. It's just there to stall the attack wave and take the heat off the objectives. So that is a good play from Artanis on that part. And yeah, we have a bunch of Immortals, and we have a relatively strong set of armies here, so I think the commanders should have no problems dealing with this next wave of bots. Another set of aggressive deployment drops do fall on top of the armies, and you can see how quickly these things just get shredded. The Immortals just completely melt these Ultralisks, and yeah, they make very, very short work. I like how the one Reaver is... Oh no, there's still two Reavers, three Reavers here. I thought that it was the same Reaver that almost died in the third wave of harvesting bots, but I think there were more Reavers that were added there. You can see over here, Artanis is just putting down a lot of photon cannons here, so that should, you know, slow down the enemy use a little bit. Unfortunately for Dehaka, like, all his static defenses cost supplies, so he's not able to use his resources as a mineral dump. So there we go. Artanis is playing good map awareness, saying that the attack wave will spawn at 28 minutes, so he actually knows his timing, which is really good. The attack wave spawns, I think, 28:04 or something. It doesn't spawn at 28 sharp, but that's close enough. And we have another attack wave over here, and you can see here they are being stalled by these photon cannons, and that is what their goal is. Just stall the attack wave while you can get your army in position to deal with it. So that is their purpose served. Unfortunately, all those photon cannons go down.
Our allies are
So Dehaka, so Artanis is going to engage whatever's left here, and Dehaka is going to be pushing through on this front. Drops a Murvar down to disable most of the ground units, which worked really well. And now there's an aggressive deployment drop that drops right on top of his army, which is somewhat unfortunate. There's an aggressive deployment drop that drops on top of Artanis' army too, but then gets shredded by the Immortals. There are a lot of Immortals in that mix. That attack wave, that harass wave has been cleared. Another harass wave starts coming up from this side now. And fungal growth goes down on some of the army over here. But again, one fire breath from Dehaka instantly wipes out a lot of the forces here. Another harass wave has spawned near the top side, and two fungal growths go down on the front of Artanis' army, which is kind of ends up body blocking the Immortals at the back there. But Dehaka jumps into the fray again, and instantly just, you can see all these lurkers kind of flying into the air. That is the power of Godzilla. We are 30 seconds away from the biggest attack wave of this mission. Another harass wave has spawned on this side, and this time Glavik is dropped here. and the one Scorched Breath instantly cuts that wave into two, wiping out a lot of the units over there. And that Guardian Shell actually being very, very useful for the Dehaka Scaldowns. I've been seeing that being procced on Glevic quite a few times, because Glevic does tend to draw a lot of aggro, and being able to wipe out that. And there we go, nice orbital strike on a nice solar bombardment on this attack wave. Unfortunately, there was nothing there to tank this attack wave. So the attack wave tends to move out of that orbital strike over here. Both these armies have combined together to try and deal with these hybrid dominators and the rest of these units. And there was actually a split here by Artanis, so he sent his army back here to deal with this harass wave. And Glevic is on this side, just stalling this wave on here. Dehaka is still working through and trying to clear this this main attack wave on this side. Lurker over here just gets completely shredded by the Immortals. There is a few of the units here that have trickled through, and I think they will probably end up taking out this this expansion, because there are a few Hydralisks over there. But Artanis doesn't really care. The last part of this harass wave has been cleared out, and Artanis will probably end up losing his expansion on this side. But at this point, it doesn't matter. Rip my Expo. Indeed, the Dehaka jumps into the fray here and he'll wipe out whatever's left of these enemies. I'm not sure why he's not eating that Infestor that's spazzing out around this assimilator. Really, really weird. And Artanis exacts his revenge on that one poor Infestor, Scarcus. But that is the end of the match. All the Harvesters were saved, and that is GG.